In this video, I'm gonna break down Joe Rogan's workout routine. My name is Jordan Syatt. I'm a strength coach, a nutrition coach, and if you're thinking, this guy looks a little bit familiar, I think I know his name, you might actually know my brother, Lee Syatt, who's a comedian. He's been on Joe Rogan's podcast before. He has his own podcast with the famous Joey Diaz. I've never personally met Joe Rogan. I like a lot of what he does. I don't like other bits of what he does. In this video, I'm gonna break down his workout routine, or at least one of the workout routines he posted on YouTube, so that you can understand what I think is good, what I think is not so good, and so you can use that going forward to make intelligent decisions for your own workout routine.
The first steps are the hardest steps. Just getting out the door, tying on your shoes. You got it right there. Key is you get them on. You get them on and you get going. You ever do these?
Sissy squat type of thing?
No, Nordic curls. Regardless of how much you procrastinate, as long as you take the steps, as long as you're on the path.
You came in cold and did fucking...
It's not easy.
That's tough.
Once you're on the path, then you feel the momentum. Like, I've got 3 good workouts this week. I'm good to go. Wake up on the 4th day, you feel good, you get excited.
It's like I was never fat.
Once you start something, you get a habit, and then next thing you know, 6 months later, you're looking at yourself in the mirror, you're like, God damn, I look good. I feel better. It's all just about momentum and staying on the path, trusting this process.
I'll start by saying, and I know I'm gonna get hate for this, I don't know who the larger gentleman is here. I don't know him. He's great in this video. He's very funny. I like him a lot, but I'm not familiar with him. I'll also say that introduction with Joe Rogan talking about momentum and just getting started being the most difficult part, I love that. I actually think it's stuff like this that makes Joe Rogan stand out. Among him and people like Jocko, Goggins, Tim Kennedy, people that Joe Rogan surrounds himself with, this is one of the things that makes him stand out. And also, he's 100% right. Actually, I was Gary Vaynerchuk's coach for 3 years, and this is something Gary talks a lot about as well, is just, it's the momentum. The hardest part is getting started. The hardest part is getting your shoes on, going to the gym. The hardest part is like, I haven't been doing all my nutrition. It's that first meal back on track. That's the hardest part. Once you get the momentum going, it's so much easier. And once you can push through that first step, that first hurdle, oh my gosh, it just makes it so much more easy, sustainable, and enjoyable. You just gotta push through to make sure you can start.
I always do at least 1 day of this every week, of this particular series. The specific movements are body weight, squats, push-ups, and then 3 sets of swings, 10 each arm, 3 sets of clean press, 10 each arm, 3 sets of windmill, 10 each arm, and 3 sets of renegade rows, 10 each arm.
So far, he's explaining this workout. A couple things I want to break down. First, he said he does this 1 time a week. I really like that because it sounds like he's doing this exact program once weekly. When people go in the gym and they just do whatever they feel like every week and they're not following a program, it's almost impossible to progressively overload. And we know that progressive overload is the most important thing, especially when it comes to building strength and building muscle. If you don't know what progressive overload is or how to incorporate it into your training, I have an entire video explaining the science of progressive overload. We'll put the link in the description of this video, but just the fact that he's doing it once a week, it allows him to keep track of his progress so he can constantly aim to improve. Throughout the rest of this video, I'm going to analyze these movements, these exercises that he's talking about. Some of them I think are wonderful. Some of them I think are, quite frankly, useless, and we're gonna talk about them throughout the remainder of this video.
Everything I do involves everything. It involves full body. Nothing's isolated. Nothing's...
I know.
Everything is the whole body moves as a unit.
There's a little bit of a contradiction that he's making right here, and I want to discuss this. On one hand, he's saying everything he does is in 1 unit for the whole body. He doesn't do anything isolated. On the other hand, in the very beginning of this video, we saw him doing Nordic hamstring curls, which is, for whatever it's worth, an amazing, amazing exercise for your hamstrings. Helps strengthen your hips, strengthen your hamstrings, make your knees more resilient. It's an amazing exercise. It's also an isolation exercise. So on one hand, he's saying he doesn't do isolation exercises, but on the other hand, he does do isolation exercises. And this is just a lesson in understanding making black and white statements like isolation exercises are bad or isolation exercises are all you need. It's worthless. They don't help anybody and you're missing all of the nuance. It's perfectly fine to have isolation exercises. In fact, I think incorporating them is very beneficial in certain circumstances. And also it's important to have more full body movements that incorporate everything all at once.
We do sets of 20, so deep squats. So I'm going down into it like this. I don't know if you could do this.
Yeah.
And we're just gonna do sets of 20. 2. So we'll do them together, like this.
Yeah.
And then just go all the way down to deep. I like to put my hands behind and then I lift up like this. 2. All right, so we did 20 of those. Let's do 20 push-ups, and then we'll do 20 of those again.
So this is warm-up. It looks like he's pairing heel elevated squats with push-ups. I honestly really like it. It's not overly complicated. He's doing this this consecutive constant tension squat. Some people might call it a Russian squat, where he brings his arms behind his back and then come right back up, and then he goes into a push-up, just goes back and forth. It's not overly comprehensive, but it does the job. I think a lot of people, they overcomplicate the warm-up. They're trying to do certain types of different breathing and certain types of just muscle activation drills. This guy's probably one of the busiest people on the planet. He's got a lot going on. He gets in, warms his body up, and then gets going.
One arm swings. We'll do 10 each arm. Do you do kettlebell swings?
Oh, yeah.
Starting off with kettlebell swings, single arm. I love kettlebell work, and I love kettlebell swings, and I love single arm kettlebell swings. I think they're fantastic. They're great for grip work. They're great for your glutes, for your hamstrings. They're great for conditioning. All around phenomenal exercise. It sounds like he's using this day as like a conditioning day, movement day. It's just a really good drill to have in there. Also for athletic performance, force production. You get a lot of benefits for improving your force and your explosive power without a lot of the added stress that you might get from something like jumping, right? When you jump, there's a lot of eccentric force that's added to it. With kettlebell swings, you're not landing, there's no eccentric component, at least landing on the ground. Your joints, tendons, and ligaments really don't take a beating at all, and you still get all of the force production benefits. Really a great drill.
All right, we'll do 10 each arm. Engage those hamstrings.
I want you to look at his technique. Hopefully Joe takes this knowing I'm not criticizing him. I just want to try and make his technique better. He just said it really engages the hamstring. I want you to watch his hips. When he hinges backwards, his hips barely move. He's a world champion in Taekwondo. He does jiu-jitsu, he does all this stuff, so I don't know what injuries he's working with. This swing that he's showing here is not using much hamstring. His hamstring is barely changing length because his hips are not hinging. A kettlebell swing is a hinge. You're supposed to send your butt back to the wall behind you. A way to think about the kettlebell swing is it's a dynamic deadlift. When you deadlift, you send your hips far back to the wall behind you, and the more you send your hips back, the more hamstrings you involve. When he does this, his hips barely move. He's using more momentum and arm here than he is actually using hamstring and glute, which is really important if you want to get the most benefit of any exercise. You want to use the right technique. And while I love the exercise, he's not doing the exercise to the best of the exercise's ability to recruit the most hamstring.
Then I go clean presses. I'll do right side, rest, then left side.
Gotcha.
And this is 70 pounds. We're gonna do sets of 10.
Let's do work, yeah. Let's do work with this.
Okay.
So the clean and press, Joe's technique is actually phenomenal. It's an amazing full body exercise. You don't need as much of a hinge as the swing. This can be a little bit less of a hinge, get more glutes and quads involved, and his press, I mean, he's strong. He said at the beginning of the clip it was 70 pounds. To be pressing it like that, making it look ridiculously easy is very impressive. It's a great exercise, and he's using phenomenal technique.
I don't like to have anything isolated. I don't do benching.
No, right?
And I can bench. I don't do squats. I can squat. Everything I do is this stuff.
Again, a little bit of a contradiction. He says he doesn't bench. That's totally fine. No problem. I don't really bench that much either. He says he doesn't do squats either. But the very first exercise he did for this workout during his warm-up was a squat variation. It's so easy for someone to watch something like this and then just take it at face value without the nuance. He's not saying he doesn't do squat movements or the squat pattern. He does that clearly all the time. What he's probably referring to is he doesn't do super heavy squats. It doesn't do anyone or any exercise justice to demonize an entire movement pattern, a squat pattern, a hinge pattern, a pressing pattern, a pulling pattern. It's okay to not squat super heavy. Not everyone has to do that. But to say that you just never squat when he literally squatted for the first exercise in the workout is not accurate. And I want you to understand that as the viewer so that you're not like confused, well, why did he squat in the beginning, but now he's saying he doesn't squat. He does squat, he just might not load it to a maximal effort.
The whole idea with windmills is we're working on range of motion. I'm going down like this, looking at the kettlebell, and then I'm going up. I drop down to 50 pounds. I like a little bit lighter with windmills.
You gotta show me windmills, bro. I can't get in that position.
This is an amazing drill. The kettlebell windmill is one of my all-time favorite exercises, not just for strength, but also for mobility. And he accurately categorized it as a range of movement exercise. You could also categorize it as a range of strength exercise, going off of Lucas Hardy from Range of Strength. If you don't follow him, I think he's a phenomenal person to follow. This drill, when done properly, is essentially like a full body mobility exercise. You get thoracic mobility, which is your upper back, hamstrings, glutes, you get lats, you get QL. It's an absolutely phenomenal exercise for mobility while still also working on spinal rotation, shoulder stability. There are very few exercises as good as this one for both simultaneously increasing strength and mobility. I absolutely love it, especially in the context of a warm-up. You could do it in the context of more of a accessory exercise in a strength workout, but I think it is very good as a warm-up. If you're doing it as a warm-up, doing it like they're doing it for maybe higher reps between 8 to 10. When I'm doing it in the context of more of an accessory exercise during a strength workout, I would actually use heavy weight and do reps between 3 to 5. I think when a lot of people think of mobility work, they do it like Joe is doing it here with very light weight and very high repetitions, which has a time and a place. There's a huge amount of mobility that you can gain when you use heavyweight, slow and controlled reps for fewer repetitions. So if you did this for 3 to 5 reps with a very heavy weight, it can do wonders for your mobility and also simultaneously for your strength. Phenomenal exercise, phenomenal drill, and Joe's technique is very good with it.
So clean, press, and then just slowly work your way down as low as you can. As low as you can, hold it, and now slowly bring yourself back up, straight up. But keep the arm up in the air.
That's the problem here.
You don't even need to do weights, honestly.
This guy should not be using a weight. And earlier in this video, this guy's talking about how he's got shoulder issues. If you have shoulder issues and you're trying to stabilize this kettlebell over your head while you're bending and rotating, it's gonna be a problem. It's much better for this person to start off with no weight. You don't need to have any weight attached and just get the movement pattern down. Generally speaking, when you're learning a new exercise, you should learn it first without any extra weight. You're going to be a little bit resistant to it. Your brain is often fighting it because you've never done the movement pattern before. When you add extra weight to something, especially a movement like this, it's gonna make it way more difficult. I'm glad that Joe took the weight out of his hands and just had him start with just his body weight, because this is a much better way to learn the drill.
Get down like that, keep that up. Yeah, you're a little inflexible in your shoulders.
Very inflexible in his shoulder, which is why if he doesn't have that shoulder mobility and he's trying to hold the weight over his head, well, the weight's just gonna, boom, fall down. Take the weight out of his hand and just use that, because he can't keep his arm in the right position without weight, never mind with weight.
Renegade rows, all right.
You going single arm only, or you go?
Before we even show you what the Renegade rows look like, I made a video on Renegade rows. It was either 2019 or 2020. Quite frankly, I think they're one of the dumbest exercises ever invented. I'm gonna show you how Joe does them. I'm gonna let him explain his reasoning for them. Most people will do a Renegade row because they're trying to combine 2 different exercises, which is a plank and a row, or a push-up and a row, either one. One of the issues is when you're combining a plank and a row or a push-up and a row, you are not able to actually row as heavy as you could if you were just simply rowing. You would get way more benefit if you just did a plank or a push-up and then you went and did a row. Earlier in this video, and we didn't show it because it was part of a separate clip, Joe is talking about how he follows Pavel Tsatsouline and how he talks about not wanting to strength train while you're fatigued, because when you're fatigued, your fatigue will mask fitness and you'll end up missing out on a lot of the benefits. Ironically, he's doing the exact opposite here. He's doing this combination exercise, which looks cool in magazines and when people can do it properly, but the fact of the matter is it's a stupid exercise. You don't need to be doing this. If you want to get stronger abs, you can do plank variations. If you want to do stronger push-ups, do push-up variations. If you want to do stronger rows, do rows. Don't combine them simultaneously. It ends up taking up too much time and you're shortchanging yourself on both variations rather than doing each one individually and maximizing the intensity of each individual exercise.
So I start shoulder width apart, get down like this. I drop to a push-up, hold, and then I do this, up, 1,
Yep.
1,
Okay, 1-1.
really works your core. Because when you're in that position,
Of
when you're
holding up.
pulling up, you really have to stabilize.
When you watch Joe do this and he's talking about how it really works your core, he's right, it does work your core, but you're watching him, his torso is rotating side to side. And I'm sure Joe would even agree that when you're doing a plank or a push-up and you want to work your core, you want it stabilized. You don't want it rotating side to side. You want your core resisting the movement, resisting the rotation. That's how it works in a plank or push-up variation. But when he's rowing, he's not doing that anymore. Not to mention, I don't know how much weight those kettlebells are, but I guarantee you he can row significantly more weight than that if he's just doing standard rows. So again, it just goes to my point. If he wants to get better at push-ups and work his core, he should do that first. And then when he's resting from that, he can go do a heavy row variation. I understand it looks efficient and it looks fancy, but it really is, in my opinion, a waste of an exercise. That's all we got for this workout. I do want to say, I very much understand this is a brief snapshot into his workout, into his program design, into his technique. I don't want to criticize everything he says about training and nutrition just from this one video. I'm taking what I had available to me and I wanted to comment on that without attacking Joe as an individual. I think he does a great job with many, many things. I respect a lot of what he does. I also, when I saw this video, I wanted to make sure people could get a strength coach's opinion of what he was doing and how he was doing it and how you can apply this knowledge to your life. There were some things that he did great. There were some awesome movements. And there were also some things he said that didn't make sense, that contradicted what he said in the video. Also some technique that wasn't well shown. Overall, I like that he does this workout. I like that he does it once a week. It's great that he can progressively overload it. It's great that he's doing exercises and movements that he clearly enjoys. And there's also significant room for improvement. I actually have another video that I did on John Jones's workout. I know if you're watching this video, you might be a fan of Joe Rogan of MMA. There was an entire video done on John Jones's squat recently. If you want to watch that, I'll put the link to that in the description. If you would like help with your own nutrition, I know we didn't talk about nutrition in this video. If you'd like help with your nutrition and specifically with fat loss, I have a free calorie calculator. I'll put the link to that in the description of the video. It will tell you exactly how many calories to eat and how much protein to eat in order to lose fat sustainably and enjoyably. Again, it's completely free. You put your information in, I'll send it right over. It'll put you on my email list, but if you want to unsubscribe immediately, you're welcome to. Otherwise, you can stay on and I'll update you regularly with videos and podcasts and blah, blah, blah. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you don't already. Have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you soon.